Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am your alcoholic host. It's been a good minute. I am Raymond. Today, I am joined with a very special guest. I think his name's, what's your name again?
Russ.
Russ. Okay. Sometimes I don't know how I could forget that today. How you doing today, Russ?
I'm doing good, Ray. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't really forget your name. I just like the guest to introduce herself. Looks like I threw you through a loop with that one, though.
I am Russ, and I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, so how's the weather out there today?
We are finally having something resembling sunshine here in New England.
It,
We had an earthquake yesterday.
oh, really?
We had a 4.8 earthquake in New Jersey, felt it all the way up into New Haven. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
We're all okay. Just,
Yeah,
it's kind of weird when you get an earthquake in the Northeast.
yeah. Well, I'm assuming you're okay. You're sitting here talking to me right now.
I got a
So,
Wi-Fi signal and everything. So there we are.
yeah. So, man, I'm glad to have you on the show today, man. I mean, you've, um, I've seen you around in the room since I've come into the rooms, and
We've been
it's
stomping around the same rooms for a while.
yeah, and I'm glad we were finally able to like talk outside of the rooms briefly, and um, it's always an honor to have someone that's been there like since the beginning. I mean, you've heard bits and pieces. Well, that's if you pay attention to what I say, but
I try to pay attention.
yeah. But it means a lot to me to have people that's been there and have watched me through this journey. It's I hate using the word blessing, but it's is what it is. It's
Go ahead and be blessed.
yeah,
It's nice to have a chance to sit down and talk. So get to know each other better and all that.
yeah.
When one alcoholic talks to another or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean that's been the biggest thing for me, and just has changed a lot of my views and outlooks, not just in my life, but just in recovery in general. And the other day, I heard you say something. It just it was just mind blowing about your talk. I can't remember the conversation, but you're like, it's not AA that did it to you. It was other alcoholics that did it to you. And it was just like, I've just been hanging on to that. It's like little things like that we get from having interactions with other alcoholics, and it's just like because people get so hung up on so little things, and it's just amazing. Just one little, just a sentence we grasp on.
I remember that. I call those the nuggets, and I'm always looking for those. I had a friend who I outed myself in some conversation as somebody who attends AA, and she had a not unusual attitude towards AA because of the Jesus stuff and blah 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 blah. And she had told me a story in the past about it, and so she reminded me that she had a bad attitude about AA because they had treated her badly, and I just had the chance to say to her. I remember that, and I'm sorry that happened to you, but that wasn't AA that did that. That was alcoholics that did that. And she was like, "You're right. That was people. Because AA isn't people. AA is a program. Um, so I'm not AA. I use AA to stay sober.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that I could plant that in your brain. That's what we're doing for each other is,
yeah,
giving each other
yeah.
sustenance in a very real way.
Yes, I love it Because I used to be against like listening for stuff like that and phrases and stuff like that. And now I understand why when like Nathan, he always says there's like, what is he talking about? But now it's just like, oh, he's right. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it.
It's like shorthanded wisdom, it's like all this profound thought condensed into these overly simplistic statements, and you can tease them out and go, oh, that actually means a lot when you find the relevant situation. A lot of times it's just words, it's just people spouting cliches. And you can go to a meeting that's really heavily cliche laden, and then you get that feeling of, oh, it's just people spouting words. But when you get down into what the words actually mean, there's a lot of wisdom there.
Yeah.
There's my sponsor uses one. I hear it from him all the time, which probably tells you more about me than about him. But it's people don't care what you think until they think that you care, and I'm like, oh, that there's a lot there. It sounds simple. It sort of sounds like a fortune cookie, but it makes a lot of sense.
I like fortune cookies.
I do too.
But yeah. I mean, it's insane. So if I'm not mistaken, you have what is it, 4 years in?
I'm coming up on 4 years next month in May. Yeah.
May. Oh, that's a good month. That's the month I was born.
It's the month I was born. Are you a Gemini?
I'm a Gemini.
Oh, right. Geminis are the best, but we'll just keep that to ourselves.
That probably explains a whole lot about you and me then.
And I'm coming up on a big birthday. 60.
40,
I'll be 60.
Oh, I thought you were going to be 45.
Yeah, that's it. I'm going to be 45 next month.
Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you. My sobriety date is actually the day after my birthday. So I
really
got 2 biggies coming up next month.
Wow.
Yeah, my last drink was on my birthday. There's probably a lot of us who are like that, who had, that one birthday party that went too far.
I've had quite a few in the past that went too far, but my sobriety date sure did not follow my birthday. So your sobriety date is the day after your birthday. So how did you end up here today?
Oh, well, I took a long road. I met you in AA, and I accepted an invitation. That's the short answer. How did I end up here? Big answer. I talked to a lot of people. I went to a lot of meetings. I have a psychiatrist. I have a therapist. I have a sponsor. So I get a lot of guidance, and I have a bunch of different legs of my personal recovery program. I'm also bipolar and ADHD. So beyond being an addict, I have other issues going on. A lot of my problem was self-medicating. I was supposed to be taking meds, but I wouldn't take the meds because I couldn't take alcohol with them, and I wasn't going to give up alcohol. And so I was drinking alcohol and smoking weed. Smoking weed controlled my mania. I didn't really even know I was manic because I was stoned all the time. And I just quit doing that and got my shit together, as they say. Ooh. Can I say shit?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, good.
Can't cancel me.
I run a serious risk, as you probably know.
No, you're good.
And here I am. I mean, I've done other than AA. I've been in Life Ring. I've been in SAA. I've sat in a couple of Cocaine Anonymous meetings. I don't have a cocaine problem. I had a cocaine problem in the 80s, but I kicked that. I kind of tried a lot of things. But secular AA is really the thing. My very first AA meeting was traditional, and there was so much put it to God in prayer and take it to Jesus in that meeting, that I was a little triggered because I'm a recovering evangelical and I'm gay and I'm liberal, and put that all together, it doesn't mesh. So yeah, I got out of that meeting and got right on the phone to my big sister, who's like probably my closest sibling, and said, "Oh my God, this isn't going to work for me, this crap." And she goes, "Okay, go right back online and find secular recovery or secular AA. There are non-Jesus-y meetings." I don't think she said non-Jesus-y, but that's what she meant. And I found, oh my God. And I went there that night. I also found a LGBTQ meeting that it's traditional light. And I was doing that for 4 nights a week, and oh my God, 3 nights a week for the first couple of years. They got me through. And a lot of people get into secular AA and spend more time than they should trashing traditional meetings and traditional beliefs. And I used to be one of those people. And I've gotten to a point where I can really sincerely say, well, I'm glad that works for them. In some ways, I'm a little jealous. I wish I could just like hand it over to the big G and trust that he's going to fix everything. But that's not how it works for me. I have to do the work. I believe that we all have to do the work. But if you believe that you're getting help from the Almighty in doing the work, then, yay, I'm glad that works for you. Doesn't work that way for me.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to watch my words with it because I don't like try to talk bad about other people's programs and stuff like that. But I'm the same way. I put myself in this position, and I got to get myself out of this position, and I've got to fix the reasons why I put myself in this position. And I don't know. I'm agnostic. I'm atheist or whatever, but I just feel like we truly have to do it. I don't know. I agree with you on that. So,
Raymond, like the way I've come around to this is the same thing I said to my friend. It was people that traumatized me, not religion. And so I've come to see religion as something benign that is used for evil purposes by some people and good purposes by other people. And so if you're using your religion to recover, then you're using it for good, not evil, and good for you. If you're using it to try and make me behave the way you do, you're not using it for the right reasons. And then that doesn't sit square with me. So, it all comes down to it's people are the problem. The things they're using are usually not the problem. The people are the problem. So are you using your powers for good or evil? That's what it comes down to. I used to use my powers for evil. That's not how I saw it, but I was doing a lot of damage. I was doing a lot of harm, just as, going through the world and doing whatever I wanted for my own purposes without any thought about how that affected other people or what the long-term consequences of it. I trashed my marriage, I trashed friendships, I trashed jobs. Everything in my wake was a disaster because I was I was a bad witch, as you might say. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? I was a bad witch.
So you didn't get here on a winning streak either.
How many of us got here on a winning streak? Let's see a show of hands. Yeah, no, none.
Yeah, but I love how you phrase it. It goes back to the starting point of where we were. It depends on how the people use it, and yeah, I'm loving it, loving it. I thought people were the problem.
People are the problem.
That that's our title. That's the
I was
title.
just gonna say that's what
Yep.
we can call this podcast. People are the problem.
Yeah, yeah. But nowadays, I look at it as if there's an issue, I'm the problem, and what do I got to do for myself for it not to be the problem? How's that? How do you go about that?
Well, here's another little cliche for you that I've been saying to myself for as long as I have been in recovery is I am not in my own way when I'm helping someone else. And it's easy to get sort of caught up in your own stuff and really blind to other people and other things that are going on. And if I try to stay aware of what's going on in the world around me, with my husband, with my family, then I am less. I'm not sitting in my shit, and I'm putting good out into the world. Helping people, puts good out into the world, and it takes you out of your own head. It makes you realize that your problems aren't the only thing that's going on, and it makes you realize you're not the center of the universe. And all of those are good reminders for me. So I don't know if I lost track of your question. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I kind of forgot what the question was.
Let's roll it back and see if I answered the question.
No, I was just saying, like, I was saying, like, people, we talk about, people are the problem. People use good for good. People use evil thinking they're doing good. And, like, I'm saying I'm the problem because my biggest thing in the past couple of years is just working on not getting pissed off and wanting to murder people, which is always a good thing. Because just holding resentments and just getting upset over stupid shit that I can't control. Because those are the reminders of what led me down that rocky, bumpy hill that beat the shit out of me before I got to the bottom of it and figured out how to get out of the hole it created, that I created. Pretty much. So
Getting out of that hole's tough.
Yeah.
Climbing out. It's been a lot of climbing. It's funny how comfy you can get in that hole, isn't it? I fought getting out of that hole. People kept telling me to climb out. And I think I was afraid of the world outside of it. And that's what had driven me into it in the first place. I don't even, the hole's pretty well filled in now. It really is. It's pretty. When I first started in recovery, I had this analogy of the work. They say when in AA they say a lot. You hear this. Only one thing has to change, and that's everything. Right? Well, it was true. It was true. I got into the program because my marriage was hanging by a thread, and I knew that I needed to make some pretty quick behavioral changes, pretty substantial changes, and pretty quickly, or I wasn't going to have a marriage left. And so I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking weed. Kind of wanted to keep smoking weed, but I knew that if I was smoking weed while I was getting sober, I was going to be stoned all the time. And that seemed not productive. So I sort of gave up everything all at once and got into meetings. And I'll be honest, I got into meetings to shut my husband up. I wanted to be able to come out and say, I didn't have a problem. I tried it. Those people aren't me. That's not me. I haven't been drinking. See, I haven't been drinking for how long? I don't have a problem. Um, I got it, and I got into the program and discovered, oh fuck, I am one of those people. These people are talking about themselves, and it sounds like me. Um, that wasn't, day one. Because day one through day, I don't know, 45, I had a lot of attitude about that's not me. I'm just I'm just here watching the wheels go round and round, as John Lennon would say. And after a while, when I dropped my guard, um, I stopped hearing the differences between me and them and started hearing the commonality um, of all of us in the rooms. And over and over and over again, you hear people say things that, or at least I do. I'm really bad at that I statements instead of you statements. But over and over again, I heard people say things and I was just like, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. And you might say, oh, well, that's because you were, so self-centered when you got in the rooms. Well, that's true too. But when I got into AA, I was looking for help, and the people in the rooms were there to help me. That's the way I saw it. Um, a little further down the path, like I am now, I don't feel like I'm in the rooms so much to help me as I am to help others. Um, that's sort of a seismic shift um, that I think came with filling in the hole. I don't have all that work to do anymore. That work is done. There was this pile in front of me of work that I've had to do. And as I did it, I threw it in the hole. So now the hole is full and the pile's gone. And I can help other people because I don't have all that other stuff making demands on my time. Um, so that's a balance thing. And it's good to be at a point in my life where I'm feeling balanced. And it's the nice thing about my program, um, my focus with both my therapist and my sponsor has been a lot about staying centered, about keeping that balance. Um, because, it's when I'm not centered that I'm flipping people off on the highway or that I get mad at the checkout clerk because the line's too long, or all those stupid things that we all do when we're out of balance. So it's a balance thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that part of your story though about like marriage hanging and you just quit and you showed up to appease someone. That story sounds familiar.
There's a few of us.
Very,
There's a few of us
very,
that
very
sort of vibe
familiar.
on that story.
And look what I'm doing now.
Look what you're doing now. You're helping other people.
I mean, it's just like, oh, wow, this story. It's just like, I'm like, but it took, and what it took for it to click was to hear from Nathan saying, well, if you don't focus on your sobriety, nothing else is ever going to work for you again. And I'm just like, and that's when it started clicking, and I actually just moved past all the other bullshit, worked on that, worked with him, then shit started, the hole started to get filled. Then it was just, I hit the ground running from there, and just whatever he said, I listened to.
He's a wise guy, but he's also a wise man.
Yes.
Nathan's been one of the voices that's always been there in my journey too. I think he was in the very first Oh My God meeting I went to. And then of course R2, and now we're both in a men's meeting with him that's given me a much richer relationship with him. Um, he's an important voice in my recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. I he is amazing. I'm not gonna.
Oh, he's gonna listen to this and he's gonna get a big head. So
Yeah, I'm stopping myself and I'm thinking, do I edit this or not? Because I think the last episode he was on here. So
shout out to Nathan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's he's. I had this conversation with someone the other day, and it's just like sometimes I stop and this is going to be another ego stroke for him, but I sometimes I stop and just say, what would Nathan say?
WWNS.
Yes, because it's just like I'm getting aggravated, and if I say something to him, and the response is going to be like, "What's my part in it?" And
What's my part in it? That just sounds like a friggin' sponsor, doesn't it? But do you say that? Do you say that to yourself in your own voice yet, or you always hear it in his voice?
it's a mixture. It's a mixture.
Because truly, you know what I say to myself? I go, what am I mad at? When I'm standing in line in the grocery store and I want to like take it out on somebody because I'm in a hurry, because, you know, I've made bad choices and now I'm late for something and the grocery store is holding me up or whatever. And I'm getting agitated. I just in my head says, "Hey, what are you mad at?" I'm not mad at the checkout clerk. She's going as fast as she can. The little old man who's writing a check, who does that in 2024, is, you know, is also not her problem, you know, and he's not his problem. He's my problem. But, you know, he doesn't care about me any more than I care about him. What I'm mad about is that I'm late and then I'm having to stand here when I'm late. And then, you know, it gets more self-focused. I put it where it's supposed to be. Like, okay, well, then, you know, chill the out because you're not going to get out of here till you get out of here. And there's nothing you can do about it. Right. There's that old acceptance saw that they tell us about from day one. Um, and I used to think that there was just so much friggin' emphasis on acceptance and surrender and what's all that about. And it was a long time before I realized that acceptance really is a key, even if you don't look at it as acceptance. Like, you know, just letting go and realizing that I'm late because of my decisions, not because of the checkout girl or the old man with the checkbook, you know, that's acceptance. And I didn't recognize it as acceptance back in the day. And even now, I might not see it in that light. I just go, okay, well, this is my fault. You know, I look at that as self-blaming, but, you know, I'm blaming myself for something that's truly my own fault. That's acceptance. Okay, I accept the consequences of my own choices. Um, and I realize that there's nothing I can do about it now because I set myself on this path and I have to get myself off of it. Um, Acceptance, surrender, humility, all of those things that just sound so airy fairy when I first got into the program. Are, you know, are sort of the linchpins of my recovery program now.
Yeah. So what happens when you get behind a slow truck on the road now?
Oh God. You know, I live on I-95 because I live in Rhode Island and I work in New Haven, and I go back and forth between New Haven and Westerly all the time, and it's like an hour-long drive on I-95. And I-95, well, it's a pain in the ass. It goes from, you know, Maine to Florida, and anybody who lives near it curses it roundly all the time because it's just traffic, 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 traffic. And it can be, you know, 4 lanes, it can be 8 lanes. It doesn't matter. It stands still from time to time for no reason. Um, I believe that at at the head of every traffic jam is one dumbass. And um, And I used to be a road rager. I mean, I used to be a rager in general, but I was a serious road rager. And I'd flip people off, and I thought, well, this is how I get rid of my stress. I pass it on. I honk and I flip people off and I scowl. Um, and I used to have a bumper sticker that said "Jesus loves you" and the rest of us think you're an asshole. Um, and I never put it on my car because I'm not quite that provocative. But my brother and I shorthanded it to "Jesus loves you." So whenever somebody's a jerk on the road, we go "Jesus loves you," and we don't have to say the rest because we understand. Um, and now I don't really do that. And when I do that, I go, "What's going on with you, extra?" Like, oh, I said my last name. Ooh, there goes my anonymity. Um, chill out. What's the problem? Um, you know, I got two more answers to that question. I'm going to tell you this story. When my dog died, I lost two dogs in 6 months. Um, and I wasn't newly sober, but I think I was only 2 years sober um, when I lost the first dog. And then I lost the second one 6 months later. And I have a busy life. And about 6 weeks after we put down Fester, we went out. They were Fester and Gomez. Um, I we went out and got Carlo, and I was directing a show at the time, and I was, working on this and I was working on that. And so boom, I was right back into my busy life. Um, and I really, I really never grieved Fester. It was easier to just put all that away and not feel my feelings. I'm sure I'm the only one who ever does that. Um, 6 months later, we put Gomez down, and a day or two after that, I was driving from Rhode Island to New Haven, and I was a madman. I'm screaming at people. Everybody on the road is either too fast or too slow, or they've got a political bumper sticker on their car that makes me feel like they don't deserve to be on the earth, or it's just like who knows what it is, but I'm just mad at the world, and I catch myself screaming at somebody because they won't get out of my way, like I'm the most important person on the highway. And I really said out loud, chill the fuck out, Russ. Um, and so I got off the road at the next exit and pulled into a park and ride lot um to like get my chill back, and realized that I was crying my eyes out because I was sad about my little dog. And I hadn't taken time to be sad about my dog. And that was on top of the other little dog that I hadn't taken the time out to be sad about. And so instead, I was channeling all of that into rage, and I was pouring it out on the universe. And I was like, it's not their fault that now I'm just sobbing over my dog, and I'm not thinking about anything at all except loss and grief and all that crap. Um, but in hindsight, I go, that's what was going on. I'm screaming at the world because I'm angry. And I'm angry because I lost a dog. And it's not their fault that I lost a dog. It's nobody's fault. Dogs die. And I love them. And so I hurt when they're gone. Grief is the price of having loved. And and that's how I got back on center. I just pulled over on the side of the road and I sobbed my eyes out until I felt like I could drive without wanting to punch somebody in the throat. Um, and early in recovery, I was on step 6 and 7. Um, our friend Mikey J from Oh My God told a story about his sponsor making him drive behind a bus. You heard that story too? You're not allowed to pass the bus. You're not allowed to honk at the bus. You're not allowed to curse, swear, shake your finger, do anything. Just drive calmly behind the bus. Um, and so I told my sponsor like the next day, I said, that sounds like a really good exercise for me. He said, well, then do it. And so the next time I went to my building downtown, I did. I got right behind a bus all the way past the hospital campus, all the way past Yale University campus. I was behind this bus and I was like, oh, if this doesn't make me a patient man, nothing will. I mean, it was awful. And now on that drive, I can just put myself right back in that place. Like, I'm not in a hurry. I know where I've got to be. There's nobody waiting for me. Um, and I have all morning to get there. So, oh, you want to cut me off? Go ahead. I'm sure that's the other dialogue that I had to take with me on the road. I give them reasons. I'm like, oh, I'm sure you're more important than me. Or, oh, you don't know that what it means to merge, or you don't know what yield signs are for. I just, make excuses for them and I let them roll merrily on. Because God damn it, they're not going to be the thing that ruins my day. It's silly to give them that much power. So I don't give them that power anymore.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up if you didn't of what Mikey said because it pisses my wife off now because I'll do it intentionally. I just because it centers me, truly centers me.
It does.
Because it's just like
Yeah.
I don't let this affect me anymore. Because she's a road rageaholic, and you got people going around shooting people over this shit nowadays, and it's just like. But the other day, last week, when we were running the kids around for their spring break trips, we got behind a, I think it was like a dump truck or something, and she was blowing up, and I go, "What are you upset about? Why are you letting that bother you? Can you do anything about it?" And she was starting to get mad at me, and I was like, "I'm shutting up," because all I was doing was pushing.
You're done. Like, where's the button? Where's the button?
I was just like, "There's nothing you can do about it. You can't pass them. You can't do it. Just deal with it." She's just like, "Oh my." But yeah,
It's a balance thing again, because when I'm passengering and my husband is like toodaloo in the right lane, and we're going from 75 to 65 to 55, I will go, you don't have to follow this guy, because there's a passing lane. And so there's a principle for me. It's like, if I don't have to, I'm not gonna. But if I'm stuck behind him, then I'm stuck behind him, and that's fine. Um, Mostly that's true. If I'm late and in a hurry, well, then it's not fine. But again, I've done that to myself. I'm almost never late to something I didn't leave late, or I didn't leave myself enough time. I can't even blame 95 because I know 95 is fakakta. It's, I can say it's an hour door to door, but I better give myself an hour 20 if I've got to be there at a certain time, because the minute I count on it being an hour, it's going to be all screwed up.
yeah.
And it's going to be my fault.
I want to jump back to another thing that you did bring up. Now, without getting political, not getting political, but just saying, you brought up political bumper stickers. Okay, we're in a political year.
We are indeed.
Okay, so everyone's got their own views and this, that, and another. How do you? How do I word this question? How do you get through the political season? Has that changed?
Yes. The last political cycle, well, 2016, I drank a lot. Right?
Yeah.
I drank like crazy in the 2016 political cycle. It was the only way to get through it. My sponsor got sober during that political cycle. I got sober during the 2020 cycle. I quit drinking the week George Floyd got murdered. Um, not They had nothing to do with each other. It just happened to be that was the top news story the
Right.
week sober. Um, and and it was hard navigating all of that and staying sober and staying sane. One of the first things I did was take the Facebook app off my phone. I was like, I don't seriously, I don't need this shit, horning in on my day all day long. I can go to Facebook anytime I want and see, what people are saying and, what my social media world is doing. But I don't need my social media world popping up every 5 minutes going, hey, Janie posted a Biden thing and Bob posted a Trump thing. And it was, it was incessant. Um, and so I took it off. I tried to go there less. I did that effectively for a while, and then it peaks and valleys. Um, it's gotten much better now, 4 years later. I engage less now. If someone disagrees with me, scroll on. I used to want to say something contrary and pick that fight. Or I used to want to tell them that they were an idiot and how could they support this person. I still want to do that. I just don't. And it's okay to want to do that because I can't help I can't help my visceral responses. I can't help what my brain thinks. Um, I can't think my way into good living. They say you can live your way into good thinking. But you can't think your way into good living. And it's true. When I have an evil thought or a nasty thought or a judgmental thought, I got to give myself some grace because we're human and that shit happens. And what matters isn't the thought, it's what I do with it. Whether I inflict it on somebody else. Whether I come right out and go, I know you left the house thinking you looked like hot shit, but you looked like hell. Um, I'm not allowed to say that. I can't help thinking it.
That sounds like progress to me.
Well, and that's how I get through politics. I pay much less attention to it, and I keep my own counsel.
Yeah. I don't respond or whatever on just not even political anymore. It's just I brought this up the other day. You go onto social media, you put a stick out there, and I'm sure there's people out there that's going to argue over it. So,
there's going to be somebody who grabs it and whacks you with it. It's a pretty provocative scene, social media, and I use it. I have friends all over that that's how I maintain those friendships because I worked everywhere. I worked in Connecticut, I worked in New York, I worked in New Jersey, I worked in Arizona, I worked on a national tour. And now I live in Rhode Island. So, most of my friends are not near me. And so we all connect on this crazy platform called Facebook. And it's great for that. But you have to be able to ignore all the crap that it puts in your way. And a lot of it is designed to engage you. And engagement with strangers on Facebook is dangerous. I mean, truly, emotionally, at the very least, dangerous because your opinion will get assaulted. Your way of life will get assaulted. I'm gay and I'm liberal. Oh, how else can I offend you today? And tell a stranger that I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drunk and my opinion doesn't matter. And I'm like, see, this is somebody who didn't know me, right? So it's a dangerous platform in a lot of ways, but it's very critical for me in maintaining friendships.
Virtual road rage.
Virtual road rage. I
Yeah.
can do it. Anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, I mean, these are like really good points. I don't know if I think I've brought up points like this in the past. It's just, I find myself now, and it's not even the politics stuff because I filter most of that stuff out anymore because I quit giving a shit. Quit giving a shit. It's,
That's something else the program has given me. Probably you got it there too. Uh, is perspective and a sense of what matters. That we were letting I was letting a lot of things that don't matter assume enormous importance in my life. Stupid shit like that guy cut me off and I have to now exact my revenge. No, that guy cut you off. Let him drive on. And then you don't have to deal with him. It's just, it was all about perspective shifting. Um, and I learned, again, this was hugely to my sponsor's credit. I learned to change the narrative early in sobriety because what I let that act cutting me off mean to me determined how I responded to it. And so if I decided that guy cut me off because he's in a hurry, not because he hates me, then there was a whole different reaction to it. If I took it personally, that guy cut me off, and that was, he disrespected me. Then, there's this reaction that I have to, get revenge or earn my respect back or some stupid alpha male shit like that. And so to get that healthy perspective, like that has nothing to do with me. How he treats me isn't about me. How he makes his way through the world has nothing to do with me. And I know that's true because I cut people off. I fail to yield. I piss people off. And it's not because I want to. It's because I'm not paying attention or I had a flake moment or I'm off in my own world and meeting my own needs and I haven't thought about how that affects you. That's how we all get through the world on occasion. And it almost never has anything to do with I want to be bad to people. Um, you know, so learning that was a really important part of recovery. It also meant that I was able to learn to do that with myself because I was really hard on myself when I stopped drinking and smoking and tried to get my act together. It was hard to forgive myself for my husband had been at me 20 years to stop drinking. And I was, for 20 years, I was like, I don't have a problem. For 20 years, I was like, I don't have a problem. And I guarantee you I had a problem for longer than 20 years. But that's how long, I'd been getting, I don't want to say nagged because he's not really a nag, but he was on me about it. Um, and and so coming out of that, I was really, really mad at myself. I felt stupid. I felt irresponsible. I thought I had been, you know, I thought I was a piece of shit because I had been reckless. I had been self-destructive. I had been horrible to my husband. There were all these things that I could righteously feel bad about. And I had to find some way of giving myself grace about them in order to go on. Like learning to forgive myself was critical because I was then going to have to learn how to forgive other people. And if I couldn't forgive me, then, I wasn't gonna be able to forgive anybody.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
But how'd you do it?
It's hard to do once you learn how to do it. I don't know that we're taught it.
Yeah. Now, was it now? Did you do the full 12 steps or?
Yeah, I did there was I didn't know a 6-step model when I started out on this. R2 popped up, reasonandrecovery.org. There's a plug. Um, Popped up probably a year or so into my recovery before I was aware of it. As I said, Nathan had been around forever, but I wasn't really aware of that meeting until about a year into it. And then I still didn't, because as I said, I was going to an LGBTQ meeting the other 4 nights that oh my God didn't meet.
So
Um,
let me intervene. Does that meeting, do they follow like a 12-step program then, or?
the LGBTQ meeting,
Yes.
yes, and that was as I called it traditional light. We opened with how it works and uh, closed with the promises. They said the Serenity Prayer. Um, I don't mind the Serenity Prayer. Somebody, I think it's Siobhan, Siobhan from across the pond, um, changed God grant me to I seek. So instead of a prayer, it's a mantra. I seek the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Suddenly it's not a prayer, it's just a mantra. And I'm like, oh, I like that. So I do that. I do that when I'm in a traditional meeting and they're praying. I just say, I seek instead of God grant me. Um, and then I can participate.
Oh,
I
wait, you can go to traditional meetings now?
my in-person meetings are traditional.
No, I just like contrasting the difference of when once we start really working on ourselves, the change. Like at the beginning, you were talking about you're calling your sister and she's telling you to go to the
I'm like,
non-Jesus-y
no way,
meetings and
no
stuff
way,
like
no
that, and you're
how.
like, I'm going to, and I'm just like, man, it's just crazy the progress and the changes we make upon ourselves and it's just this is why I love doing this. Sorry for cutting you off, but it just
No,
it
no
makes me
problem.
happy.
It's a long way, that loop that took me from out of my first one back into traditional meetings. I still, at the end of the meeting, when they do the Lord's Prayer, I stand quietly with my hands on the chair. Um, I keep my mouth shut. I don't. Somebody told me that when they do that, he makes each line a question. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I'm like, well, that's obnoxious. I mean, that's like being provocative. And if I'm going to go to a traditional meeting, then I'm going to let them do their thing. And if it doesn't work for me, well, then I'm not going to do it. But that doesn't mean I can't go. I always have peppery shares when we're on higher power topics. Um, because, I like to say, and I'm going to say this because it's not a Russ share if I don't say this. I grew up in the Baptist church. And I was heavily churched, man. Oh, I was heavily churched. And um, I still believe that the message of Christ, which is charity, mercy, compassion, forgiveness, and love, is the foundation of a virtuous life. I don't have any issue with people who espouse the Christian virtues. My issue is people who espouse the Christian virtues and don't live them. And that is the modern church in a nutshell. I don't find those things present in the modern church. I find greed and hypocrisy and judgment aplenty in the modern church. Um, and I don't find mercy, charity, compassion, and love. Now, there are occasional Christians who do still espouse those virtues. Um, but I don't think they're good Christians. I think they're good people in a bad institution. Um, and I just got no room for the church. I just got no room for the church. But that doesn't mean that we throw out the tenets of the New Testament. I mean, the Old Testament is more about wrath and fury and redemption, but the New Testament is about mercy, charity, compassion, and love, and forgiveness. So I can still embrace all of those without having a fundamentally church-based approach to life. I call it an ethical approach to life. I have good ethics. So did Christ. If you believe he existed, then I don't have any issue with him having existed. 2,000 years from now, nobody's going to be arguing about whether I walk this earth or not. Nobody will have heard of me. So even if the guy wasn't who he said he was and didn't do all those things that people say he did, he still left us with this. And I think that's pretty solid shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that statement. That's pretty solid, man.
So then I take that to my traditional meetings, and it's like, look, I can get behind all of this. I just can't get behind the rest of it. And people go, oh, because there's a lot of them that feel the same way, but have never had it put in words before. And so I've gone from being this, friggin' atheist who likes to startle people to being somebody who, in expressing my own journey through faith and virtue. My sponsor used to talk all the time about living in your virtues. And I was like, what? Or in your values, living within your values. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? Oh, there's another one. F-bomb. I finally got an F-bomb. And I'm like, oh, those are my values. Yeah, those are the Christian values, but those are my values. Those are good to, it is good to be merciful. It is good to be compassionate. It is good to be forgiving. It is good to be loving. All of those things, there's nothing bad about them. And those are my values. Those are what I strive to live within. And so we can all agree on that. It's the approach to the other stuff that we disagree with. And that doesn't matter. My relationship with the divine is mine, and it has nothing to do with you, and vice versa. Your relationship with the divine is all about you. Have a party. Have a fucking Last Supper if you want. I don't care. Just leave me out of it.
No, but I like your I guess you'd call it a politically correct response to that, because my responses get my ass in trouble.
Well, then that's worked for you, Raymond, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I'm going to be listening back to this and try to apply that to when I intervene with an answer like that, because I think that's more suiting and that's growth for me, and that's progression for me instead of the answers I come up with. I appreciate that.
Well, good. I'm glad it's useful. It works. It works for me.
Yeah.
The other big lesson in that for me was the big book, because people refer to the big book a lot, and I had a lot of trouble. I had the same trouble that everybody has with the big book. It's misogynistic. It's quaint. It's old fashioned. It's presumptuous. It says, oh, you don't have to have the same God as everybody else, but then it describes God as this preconceived notion of a masculine pronoun Judeo-Christian entity. And so and you can't read 3 pages in a row without tripping across that G word. So I took God out of the big book and replaced it with the word love. And it works. Anywhere they talk about love, God, I put in love. And I do it automatically now. When you read the traditional 12 steps and you take God out and put love in, it's like, ooh, that's a whole new. It isn't a whole new approach. It's a different approach. That's about shifting perspective. And there's people who are going to be like, well, words matter. And I'm like, okay, well, but then you can go to the Bible and there's a verse that says God is love. So I can take God out and put love in, and I'm still fundamentally holding to the core of Christian values, but in a way that works for me, because I can have faith, I can have a spirituality that's based in virtue, that has nothing to do with organized religion.
Man, I think we covered it all today, man.
Well, good.
Let's
get on with the day then. Because we're all balanced and ready to kick ass and take names, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's good. I mean, this is. I don't think a lot of this stuff has been brought up in the on the show. I mean, this is really good stuff.
Well, thanks for having me come and
Yeah,
talk about all this stuff. It's nice to have an opportunity to do so. I mean, you don't get to share this long in meetings, right? You don't
right,
get to
right.
just shoot the shit like this in meetings, so it's fun.
That's why I like doing this, and it gave me more of a chance to get to know you too, especially with you. How long did you start coming to our uh, check-ins?
Oh, maybe a year now.
Okay, man, really wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it was right. I think it was right after Christmas last year.
Okay,
Not 2023. It was after Christmas 2022.
yeah,
Somewhere in there. So it's been about a year. I know. Time flies, right?
yeah. But like I said, we didn't. I didn't know that first part of your story and how relatable it is to mine, and it's just like, well, holy shit.
What gets us in the rooms can be really, really different. Everybody ends up there by their own path, if I dare use that
Yeah,
metaphor. And so there is that shock of recognition when you find somebody who walked the same path into the room like we did. I fucked over everything in my life and said, "Oh, this matters to me, and I better go do something about it if I want to save it." Um, because that's not everybody's journey, but that's you and me.
yeah, yeah.
That's how we got here.
So
And we got here saying, well, I'll show her.
yeah, yeah. It was one of my manipulative cons, which is no longer it's is what it is, and it turned into this, and it's amazing. So
Right?
yeah. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too, brother. And
Yeah.
I'm truly delighted to be here. So thanks for the opportunity to share and to get to know you better too.
Yeah.